Welcome back to Brain Binge. Today, we are exploring the unsettling idea that you may not be the only one in the driver's seat of your own body.
I mean, really think about that. Who's actually running this body? It sounds like a strange question, right? But the more you look at biology, the more you find these wild examples of one organism steering the behavior of another, all for its own benefit. It really makes you rethink what control even means.
We're diving into this idea of borrowed bodies, where the actions, the impulses, even the final moments of a creature's life aren't really its own. They're being dictated by a hidden passenger pulling the strings.
And to see this in its most, dramatic form, we've got to start with parasites. Some of them have evolved strategies that are so precise and so creepy, they honestly feel like they're straight out of science fiction.
So, first up, meet Toxoplasma gondii. It's this tiny, single-celled parasite, and it has one single-minded goal in life: to get inside a cat. That's the only place it can sexually reproduce. It can infect almost any warm-blooded animal, sure, but that's just a pit stop. So, how does it complete its mission? Well, by hijacking a middleman.
The strategy here is just wow. When a rodent gets infected, the parasite forms these little cysts in its brain, specifically targeting spots like the amygdala, which is basically the fear center. This infection literally rewires the rodent's survival instinct. Instead of running away from the smell of a cat, an infected mouse just doesn't care. It might even be drawn to the smell. It gets bolder, starts exploring more, and makes itself the perfect, easy meal to get the parasite exactly where it wants to go.
Now, of course, the big question is, what about us? A huge chunk of the human population actually carries this parasite. And yeah, some studies have found these tiny correlations with things like increased risk-taking. But, and this is a really big but, these are just correlations. There is no proof of causation. The effects, if they exist at all, are small and super debated in the scientific community. So let's be clear, we are not fearless cat-seeking zombies.
Okay, so if Toxoplasma is kind of like a subtle persuader, our next hijacker is a full-on puppet master. This is Ophiocordyceps, better known as the zombie ant fungus. And this isn't about tweaking fear. This is about total physical remote control.
The whole process is just chillingly precise. The fungus works its way through the ant's body, weaving a network all around its muscle fibers. Then it forces the ant to leave its colony, climb up a plant to a very specific height, with just the right humidity and temperature, and then for its final act, it forces the ant to clamp its jaws onto a leaf in a death grip it can never release. Only then does the fungus kill the ant, grow a stalk out of its head, and rain down spores on the unsuspecting colony below.
And believe me, this isn't some rare fluke. Nature is absolutely filled with these mind-bending stories. You've got hairworms that make crickets find the nearest body of water and just drown themselves. Or a flatworm that turns a snail's eye stalks into these pulsing, colorful caterpillar mimics to get eaten by a bird. And another fluke that makes ants climb to the top of blades of grass every single night, just waiting to be eaten by a cow. It's wild.
It's not just parasites either. Nope. Viruses can also be master manipulators of behavior. And there's probably no clearer example than one of the most feared viruses in human history.
Rabies. The virus gets into the nervous system, and the symptoms you see in the late stages, well, they're a perfect case of behavior being modified for transmission. The agitation, the aggression, that infamous urge to bite, it's all the virus turning its host into a better delivery vehicle for spreading itself through saliva.
Okay, so these examples are pretty stark, right? They're external invaders launching a hostile takeover. But what if the influences are way more subtle? What if the passengers aren't invaders at all, but they've been living inside of you your entire life?
Just let that sink in for a second. Your body isn't just your body. It's an entire ecosystem. It's a planet, really, just teeming with trillions of other organisms.
And this brings us to your gut microbiome and what's called the gut-brain axis. This is basically a constant, two-way chemical conversation that's happening between the trillions of microbes living in your gut and your central nervous system. And it turns out they have a lot to talk about.
So how's this communication happening? Well, we know of at least three main channels. First, you've got chemical signaling. Your gut microbes make all sorts of compounds, including some that look an awful lot like the very neurotransmitters that regulate your mood, like serotonin and GABA. Second, they have a huge impact on your immune system and inflammation, which we know directly affects how your brain works. And third, there's a direct physical line, the vagus nerve, this huge bundle of nerves that connects your gut straight to your brain.
The clearest evidence for this, honestly, comes from animal studies. If you raise mice in a completely sterile, germ-free environment, they show really different stress and anxiety behaviors compared to regular mice. But what's even crazier is that you can transplant the gut microbes from, say, an anxious mouse into a calm one, and you can actually see the recipient's behavior start to shift.
So here's the crucial point in all this. These passengers, whether they're parasites from the outside or microbes on the inside, they don't invent new ways to control their hosts. They're just figuring out how to tweak the knobs that are already there. Our hormones, our neurotransmitters, our ancient pathways for fear and reward.
Which brings us to one last kind of metaphorical leap. If a fungus can borrow an ant's body to spread itself, can an idea borrow a human mind to do the same thing?
This is actually the original concept of a meme, as coined by the biologist Richard Dawkins. No, not the funny pictures of cats online, but a unit of culture. An idea, a belief, a catchy tune that replicates by jumping from mind to mind. In a way, they're like information parasites that need us to survive and spread.
And you can see this concept of attention hijackers play out in our modern world in some really powerful ways. Think about social contagion, how moods and behaviors can literally spread through a social network like a virus. Or think about belief systems that are structured to reward you for recruiting others and punish you for having doubts. And of course, there are modern algorithms which are designed to learn exactly what grabs our attention and then just feed us more and more of it, creating these powerful behavioral loops.
Which brings us all the way back to that first question we asked. After looking at all of this, who is actually in control?
Well, the answer seems to be that there isn't one single boss in the control room. The self is more like a coalition. You've got these dramatic influences from biological hijackers. You've got the subtle nudges from your internal ecosystem of microbes. You have your own ancient programming of hormones and drives. And then, layered on top of all of that, you have the informational passengers, culture, ideas, and memes. So maybe the self isn't a king sitting on a throne making all the decisions. Maybe it's more like a spokesperson for a very crowded, very noisy, and very complex ecosystem, just trying to make sense of all these competing voices. If you want the full podcast episode, search Borrowed Bodies, Parasites, Microbes, and the Minds They Hijack. Or click the podcast link in the description. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video and see you in the next one.